Hello. So, as I briefly alluded to in the introduction section, there are two elements to this kit, the base and then the side templates. So, obviously, at this point in time, there's a certain amount of bases, but you might find that we add to it in the near future. So please do check out the section called Updates, because in the updates, if I've made any changes, alterations, or additions, everything will be explained and recorded in there. So do keep checking back. Now, at the moment, I understand it may all be a little overwhelming as to which sides go with which base. So I'm going to explain it all, but don't be afraid to ask questions if you're not sure. However, don't forget that I can only produce at the moment a certain amount of sides. That's not going to cover the thousands of vehicles that you want to make or exist in the world. So what I suggest you do is the following. Listen to this and me explaining the bases and what kinds of car categories they might be for. And if you're unsure then which side template and base you need, then pop yourself onto a vehicle hire company website and look for categories of cars to hire, because you will find they've been put in certain categories. And when you find the car that you're looking for within a certain category, you'll probably find it's with other cars that I've made side templates for. So you'll go, okay, so it's a similar size as that. Okay? Sounds a really bizarre thing to ask you to do, but what I can't do for you necessarily at the moment is produce a side for every single car on the planet that you might want to make. So it does require you to have a bit of a think and go, yeah, you know, it's a big car. I reckon I can make it out of X. Now, of course, you don't need to use my side templates at all. You could just pick a base, and you pick a base based on its biggest, because I need the biggest amount of portions. So I'll proportionately make my mini, not on base A, which is the smallest, but I'm going to make it on base C, and we're going to go for it. So it'll just be a great big mini, okay? But then you wouldn't be using my templates. You would just kind of have a bash at it yourself. Does that make sense? So, without further ado, let's take a look at these bases. So at the moment, correct at time of printing, as they say, we have A, B, C, D, and E. Okay? And with A, there is one set of templates at the moment. B, there is two. I think, actually, there's three. C, there is two. D, there is two. And E, there is one. So can you see that that's where we're kind of heading? And they're all different sizes. Some are similar. So B and C are both large. They're the largest of the two, and I'll go through the sizes in a minute. But C has a very pointy front to it because it's the sports car. So if your car is, let's say an Aston Martin, it's a sports car, but actually an Aston Martin has a really flat front to it. So does a Ford Mustang. So you wouldn't necessarily want to use this shape because it might not kind of go with it, basically. Whereas this is more suitable for your Ferraris, your Porsches, MX-5s, those kind of things, okay? Base B was all about the big kind of family car. So it might be that somebody's, you know, got a Ford Escort or whatever else. That's one of the first ones I did actually, was a Ford Escort Cosworth was what I was asked to make. But also you'll find that that'll work with a family car like a Mercedes or BMW, but also your 4x4s, okay? Then we've got base A. So base A was one of the first ones that I was requested, and that was a mini. And certainly I can see us doing a VW Beetle out of that one as well. So those kinds of things will be going out of this smaller one. You may want to just do a little Ford Fiesta, and that's absolutely fine. I've not got a side for that, but you'd know that that's where you were heading with your base. Base D looks quite small, but actually it goes quite tall, this one, because this is the base for our camper vans and our transit vans. So they've been scaled down a little bit. Otherwise, if we did a camper van in this size, then all of a sudden there'd just be like too much cake. But in a sports car that's really low, we're losing the height. Therefore, I needed to give you a wider base so that you'd got more cake, basically. And then E is the truck. So this one you could do, we've designed it as a big truck with no trailer, so it's not an articulated, as in it's not got the trailer attached to it. So imagine Optimus Prime when he's just the cab and then the wheels at the back. But it also will work for a fire engine and those kind of things. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. As I said, please do check updates and see what else there is. So basically then, each kit, let me move some of these out of the way of the overhead camera. Here we go. So you will find each set, unless it's the truck, because that has loads of wheels, each set will come with a base, 2 axles that match, and 4 wheels. Okay? 2 slots. You might find that the piece of wood is still in here. It just means that I've forgotten to pop it out. Okay? If for any reason you struggle to pop anything out, just take a little Stanley blade and very gently cut round and it'll pop through. It just depends on how many orders I've had that day and how quickly I've had to work. But I usually manage to pop everything out. And as I said, I usually manage to take off any little sharp bits if there are. But it's easily solved if you need to. So we'll look at assembling in a minute with cake and how we go about that, but let's just look at the kit as it is. So if I flip this over, you'll see that your axles have got axle A written on them, and they just slot into place like so, she says. There we go. So we wanted it to be a nice snug fit, because the last thing you want to do is move your car about when you're making it and then find that the axle's just fallen out on you. Okay, so there it is. If I show you from the side, can you now see that it's standing off the board? Then your wheels, now they've all got A written on them for the A set. You'll find that actually, look, the wheels are all pretty much the same size. What's different about them is the cuts in them. So can you see that C is much shorter than A? And that's about how high the car is off the floor. Okay, so a sports car is a very low-seated car, isn't it? But the Mini has got much more room underneath it, much more ground clearance. Okay, so that's what's different about the wheels, and that's why we've labelled them and not just left them all the same. So when your car is done, essentially your wheels will slot on. We don't need to worry about this when we're making it for a while actually, but I just want to show you what the kit will kind of look like. So there it is. There is our kit. And as I said, if I show you the difference, look, between, so at the moment, here is axle. Let's show you from above. Put that back. So can you see how different they are, look? And that is based on the car's kind of ground clearance, basically. And that's why we've selected certain cars on certain bases. The fact that their distance between the wheels works proportionately, as does the axle height. But obviously, those wheel cuts that I was talking about, can you see now, look, why it ends up so different? Yeah, because the axles are different. So that's what's going on kind of underneath. Okay. Now, in terms of how many portions we're going to get out of them and how big they are, please do check out the vehicle. Please do check out the document that says vehicle basis, size, dimensions and portions. Okay, because it's going to tell you how many portions you're going to get out of each of these cakes, and that is dependent on you doing an 1 by 2 inch finger slice, basically, of cake. Okay, so that's the bases. I think, kind of in a nutshell. Do you remember we were talking about a moment ago? Don't know which base it is that I've done now. If in the introduction I mentioned about you using the kit again. So this is what I meant when I was talking about a barrier. Okay, so if you wanted to use this kit again, or you didn't want it touching the wood, then simply draw around it on a piece of greaseproof paper, pop that down, put your cake on the top. You don't need to put any buttercream or Trex or anything. Try not to kind of put anything on this wood if you're going to use it again. And then you kind of go from there and put your cake on the top. You don't need to cut these holes out because the axles sit flush, don't they, with the top. So that's all okay. So yeah, so if I was going to reuse the kit, this is what I would do with it. However, I do kind of feel that where else this quickly, and once you've seen them carved and come together, you'll just see how quickly it happens. You just can't do anything else this quick. You can't go to B&Q, the wood store, or wherever else. By the time you've worked out the sizes, cut out the stuff, put together the stuff, done everything else, you've just spent 50 quid and, 6 hours of your day. So for the price of these kits, I just feel, we're not talking about a £20 cake, are we? We're talking about a more high-end cake that actually you'd just press it up and let it go. Don't forget, you get to keep your sides. Yeah, you get to keep these because these aren't going anywhere. So you'll start to build up a nice range of your templates. But that's how I would work it. And of course, if you're just doing for friends and family, you're going to get it back. So that's all fine. Right. So I'm just checking my little list to see whether I've told you everything that I want to tell you, because there's just so much information. So much information. Oh, I did want to talk you through this base because it is one of my favourites. So this base is base E and this is the truck. And it comes with more wheels, for starters. And why does it come with more wheels? Well, it comes with more wheels because trucks at the back have 2 wheels together, don't they? Okay. You wouldn't make 2 lots of alloys and 2 lots of rims, but you would put them in and then rim over the top, and then you just draw a line down it to make it look like there was more than one tyre. But we'll go through that when we get to that point. And there are then these. So there's more axles as well. There's 3 axles, not 2. There's then these little beauties. So whilst they will come flat for you, just run your thumb over the back of them and gently, can you see how I'm just gently bending it? So you're just making sure it will kind of nicely bend before you pop it into place. So you'd have to go some to break these, but please do be careful with them. But literally just run your thumb over the back and you'll see that they will just start to move. And let's just take out another piece of wood so that you can see. I'm just taking out these bits, which again should be taken out on yours, won't they? There we go. Because I just want to show you how these work. So, can you see that there is a tab, and then, let me put it there, look, there's the tab, and then it goes in a little bit. So here's the tab hole, like so, and then you should be able to see that it's nice and flush, really nice and flush with this side here. Can you see? So I've pushed it in with the tab, nice and flush with that side. Then that curve, so the wood where you can see the pattern goes on the top, okay? So that will then just curve and it will pop into the other hole, and there is your truck wheel arch. Now, why don't we need wheel arches for cars? Well, actually, because there's cake on there. So you just cut out the cake to make a wheel arch. But on the back of this truck, there's nothing. So there's cake on the front, empty back. Therefore, we needed those nice wheel arches to kind of give you a helping hand. And how gorgeous are they? I absolutely love them. You'd obviously cover them over. We'll go through that in the tutorial. But I just wanted to kind of explain how they work, basically. One of my most favourite things. I absolutely love them. Right, so let's take a look then at the sides, and we'll do that in a whole separate section so that you know where to find it when you need it. So I'll see you in a bit.